Hey you guys, what's up? In today's video, I'm going to be trying out the brand new Colourpop monochromatic palettes. We have the Fine Feathered palette and the High Tide palette. So as you guys can see, I'm going to be creating a look with the Fine Feathered palette on this eye and then a look with the High Tide palette on my other eye. I'm also going to be showing you guys close-ups of these palettes and swatches of all of the shades. So I hope you guys are all excited about today's video. If you are, please make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you're not already. And yeah, let's go ahead and get started. So first things first, let's go ahead and go through close-ups of both of these palettes, and I'm going to show you guys all of these shades swatched. So these are the two new monochromatic palettes from Colourpop, and these are each $14. First of all, can I just say how beautiful the packaging is of these? Like, I love the packaging of these palettes. So these are each 9-pan eyeshadow palettes that are obviously monochromatic palettes. First up, we have the Fine Feathered palette, which is a stunning like pink and purple palette. Here is a close-up of all of the shades. We're going to go ahead and do swatches starting with the top row. First we have Tweet Me, which is a soft metallic peachy pink. Well, that is a very soft shimmer shade. You can barely see it. Flying High, which is a warm matte rose. Of a Feather, which is a dusty mauve with pinpoints of gold and silver. Now we're going to move on to the second row. First we have Take a Gander, which is a mid-toned matte coral pink. No Flocks, which is a metallic rose. And Goose Chase, which is a deep cool-toned matte fuchsia. That is a really pretty shade. Moving on to the last row. First is Nest Egg, which is a rich matte red fuchsia. Hen Party, which is a bright matte fuchsia. And the last shade is Telltale, which is a deep matte smoky plum. So here are all of the shades in the Fine Feathered palette. I know I'm gonna love this one. I love like pink eyeshadows, so I think this palette is gorgeous. I love that there's so many mattes in here. I personally love a palette with a bunch of mattes. So yeah, here are all of these shades from the first palette. Next we have the High Tide palette, which is a monochromatic aqua palette. Here are all of the shades. I'm so excited to use this one. Let's go ahead and start with swatching the top row. The first shade, Just a Splash, is a soft pastel aqua with silver pinpoints. Ooh, that's already starting off really pretty. The shade Currents is a mid-toned seafoam green. Once again, another really pretty shade. The shade Free Floatin' is a silvery metallic aqua. Ooh, I like that one. Moving to the next row, the first shade Urchin is a rich matte teal. Okay, this shade, like whenever you touch it, is very, very soft. The next shade Must See is a vibrant aqua with golden highlights. The shade Flora is a smoky matte teal. In the last row, the first shade Muscle Beach is a metallic smoky teal with green duochrome finish. New Wave is a bright matte teal. And the last shade, Lunar, is a blackened teal. So here are all of these shades from the High Tide palette. This palette looks stunning. I also feel like I'm really going to like this one, but I guess we will see once we start the eye look. So yeah, here are all of the shades from this palette. So now that you guys have seen both of these palettes up close, let's go ahead and move on to the eye tutorial part of this video. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do, of course, is prime my lids with my P. Louise base. I'm going to do just one eye at a time because, as I've said, I like my base to be like a little bit tacky. So if I prime both lids at the same time, then it's not really tacky anymore, and I just like the shadows to stick really well. So I think I'm gonna first use the Fine Feathered palette, which is like the pinky type of palette, and I'm so excited about these. I'm first gonna take the shade right here, and I'm just going to map out the shape of my crease, which is what I usually do when I'm testing out a new eyeshadow palette, just because I like doing this kind of look, and it really helps me tell if I like a palette because I can do this type of look like easily. So I'm just gonna kind of map out the shape. This doesn't have to be like too precise. It can be a little bit messy. As you guys can see, this shade has really good pigmentation. Honestly, if you guys have been following me for a while, you know that I'm obsessed with Colourpop's eyeshadow formula, so this is not a surprise to me that this has great pigmentation, but I'm sure this shade is going to stain my lid. Now I'm going to take the shade called Take a Gander, and I'm just going to blend this right above the first shade. Now I'm going to take the shade called High Flyin', and I'm just going to lightly, once again, blend right above the lash shade. With this one, I'm just kind of like picking up a little bit and then tapping off the excess and then very lightly blending because it's not like a super light shade and I need to kind of like diffuse it into a really light shade. So now I'm just going to apply concealer all over the lid to cut my crease. I think in my last video someone asked me what cutting the crease is, and basically it's just this, like putting concealer all over the lid. For the lid, I'm first going to take this shade right here, and I'm just going to apply this on the whole like first half of my lid. And then I'm going to apply the other shimmery shade from the palette on the outer half of my lid, and then I'll kind of like blend them together in the center. So now that the lid is like pretty much done, we're gonna move on to the lower lash line. I'm gonna first take the shade Telltale, and I'm just gonna kind of press this right up against the lower lash line. And then I'm gonna go back in with this shade to blend it out. Alright, so here is the first eye look done with the Fine Feathered palette. I am very happy with how it turned out. Some of the pinks were a little bit hard to blend, like in this outer corner area, but it wasn't like too bad. The mattes have really good pigmentation. Of course, Colourpop shadows always have great pigmentation. The shimmery shades are also really pretty as well. So yeah, I am happy with how the first look turned out. Now we're going to move on to the High Tide palette, which I'm so excited about. First up, I'm going to go in with the shade Urchin, and once again, going to kind of map out the shape of my crease. This is like a very soft shade, and it has really good pigmentation. I am noticing though that there is a lot more fallout with this shade, I think because it is so soft. Now I'm going to take the shade New Wave, and I'm just going to start blending this right above that shade. Now I'm going to take the shade Currents, and I'm just going to blend once again up a little more. I'm also going to take some of this lightest shade, but it does have some glitter, so hopefully that kind of blends out. And we're just going to really lightly blend this right along the edge of the lash shade. So for the lid, I'm first going to pick up the shade Free Floatin', and I did go ahead and already cut my crease, so I'm just going to put this right here on the inner part of my lid. Now I'm going to use the shade Must See. And Muscle Beach. For the lower lash line, I'm going to take the deepest shade in the palette, and I'm just going to really like tightly press this along the lash line because it is so dark. I don't want to go too low with it. Now I think I'm going to kind of mix this shade with the lightest shade in the palette, and I'm just going to blend out that shade I just put down. Alright, so here is the completed look with the High Tide palette. Also, love this one. I always love Colourpop shadows, so this was like no surprise to me at all. I'm not sure if these palettes are just in Ulta, but I will leave them linked in my description box below. If they have them on the Colourpop website, I will also put a link there, but these are available now at Ulta, and I'm pretty impressed. I think that the packaging is beautiful. I love the color stories of both of these. I don't really have that many like monochromatic palettes like this, so I am excited about both of these, and these are both like color stories that I personally really like. Like I love a good berry pink eye, and then also kind of like a tealish green eye. This is like the perfect kind of like mermaid palette. Let me know what you guys think about these palettes in the comments down below. Are you guys going to be picking up either one of these? I think they're a great price for what you get. I personally love the High Tide one. Like I feel like there's the perfect amount of mattes and shimmers. There are 3 metallics, the rest are kind of mattes, or this one is like a matte with glitter. I feel like the Fine Feathered palette could use one more shimmer. Like I feel like they could have gotten rid of either like this shade or this shade because they are very similar, and then put another shimmer shade in here. I feel like then it would be better, but I do also really like this palette. I like both of them. Honestly, I knew I was going to. As soon as I saw these, I like ran to the store to pick them up because these literally like just launched. The packaging, honestly, is probably like my favorite Colourpop packaging so far. Like I think these are beautiful. Also, let me know in the comments which eye look you guys like better. So yeah, that is it for today's video. I hope you guys all enjoyed it. If you did, please make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you're not already. Also, make sure you have your notifications turned on, that way you don't miss out on any of my future videos. All you have to do is click the bell next to the subscribe button, and then you'll receive a notification every time I upload a new video. video. And I will see you guys in my next video. Thank you so much for watching.